Do you know who witches are? Are you aware that in ancient times, there was a special attitude towards witches? Have you heard that every full moon, witches gather for their Sabbath? Watch the video until the end, and you will learn all about witches and their magical spells, as well as whether they exist today. Are you ready? No. Then look closely into my magic ball and let's go. In the ancient legends of different peoples around the world, whether in Europe, Asia, America, or Russia, there are mentions of witches. The history of witches goes back to a distant past and is full of mysteries and ambiguities. In Africa, shamanism is closely tied to the daily lives of local residents. Even with the arrival of civilization, they have not lost faith in their healers. African healers have helped treat livestock, care for children, and cast curses for thousands of years. For Africans, a doctor and a shaman are almost the same. Such people were treated with caution. They were not always respected, but they were also not disturbed without reason. In Russia, before the adoption of Christianity, sorcerers and witches were deeply respected, regarded as wise advisors and healers. Witches often gave advice to princes, protected the weak, assisted women during childbirth, and even controlled the weather. However, with the arrival of European traditions in Russian lands, the attitude towards witches changed. They began to be persecuted and destroyed, as happened in Europe during the Inquisition. At that time, thousands of innocent women were burned at the stake, accused of having connections with the devil. It was enough for a neighbor's denunciation for a public execution to take place within a few days. Beautiful young women with red hair could be killed without trial or investigation. The fear of witches in Europe was so great that it led to mass executions. In Europe, over time, magical traditions became known worldwide, despite the fact that in the past, witches faced persecution. In Japan, witches were called amado, or amido. They were held in honor and respect. Political figures did not take serious steps, did not build new buildings, and did not enter into marriages without consulting a maida. Unlike in European countries, in Japan, witches have always been powerful positive characters. They hid behind the masks of priestesses, sorceresses, herbalists, and healers, but this did not affect people's attitudes toward them. Society's interest in witches has always been as great as the fear of them. The word witch evokes a certain superstitious fear and rejection in many people. However, it originally had a completely different meaning. If we delve into the etymology, the word witch consists of two parts, witch and no, and ma meaning mother, or woman. Thus, witch refers to a wise woman possessing knowledge. There is a version that in the past this term was used to refer to midwives, healers, and folk practitioners. A witch is equally adept at navigating both the world of humans and the world of spirits. She sees both worlds equally well, draws knowledge and power from the outside, and uses them for the benefit of all living things. But not all witches were kind. Some of them hated people for their views and caused them harm. A witch is a woman who is under the influence of some entity from the spirit world that was once a human. Most often, it manifested in the female body and possessed strong magical abilities. Such a creature either does not want to or does not have permission to manifest in a human body. The connection to the spirit is passed down through the lineage, to hereditary witches, or to a randomly suitable young woman from a dying witch, whether they are learned or unwitting witches. A natural witch refers to a category of witches to whom paranormal abilities are passed down through one generation. A trained witch was considered to be a representative of that category of witches who underwent training with other more powerful witches or studied magic independently from books. Since ancient times, witches have been divided into two categories: those who received their gift from birth and those who acquired it through hard work, training, and curiosity. A natural witch is born into a family where 7 girls are consecutively born, or is an illegitimate child in the 3rd generation. Additionally, she may be the daughter of a famous witch. Europeans believe that if a pregnant woman accidentally swallowed a piece of coal while cooking in the last month of her pregnancy, her child would be born with the gift of witchcraft. It was also believed that children born at the cost of their mother's life possess supernatural abilities. Particularly religious Christian women did not leave the house when their pregnancy was noticeable under their dresses, as they believed that the child could be cursed and would become a sorcerer upon reaching adulthood. The second type of witch appeared when a girl or young woman voluntarily became an apprentice to an experienced witch. The natural sorceress was considered stronger and more powerful, capable of correcting the harm done, which was beyond the ability of those who were trained during their lifetime. In general, there are as many different types of witches as there are witches themselves. I will tell you more about the 3 most famous. A green witch is one who prefers to be in harmony with nature and everything related to it. She may feel a strong attraction to growing her own herbs, performing magical rituals outdoors, and connecting with the energy of the earth. In their studies, green witches pay great attention to the study of herbs, essential oils, tinctures, and potions. They often enjoy collecting books about wildlife and spend a lot of time studying the plant kingdom. Green witches often celebrate the Wheel of the Year, which consists of 8 Sabbats dedicated to the changing of the seasons. Their rituals may include giving thanks to the earth, celebrating the harvest, or honoring the spirits of nature. In their magical practice, green witches use tools that they have made themselves or obtained from nature. Sticks from fallen branches, altar cloths dyed with plant-based colors, stones, and crystals collected personally. The path of the green witch is not an easy one. Not everyone can learn to listen to and hear nature, and most importantly, to respect it and approach it with deep reverence. Contrary to stereotypical beliefs, a white witch does not fly on a broomstick, does not attend Sabbats, and does not engage in other similar activities. She does not harm people, does not cast curses, does not harm young couples wishing to have children, and does not separate lovers. The white witch uses only the light side of her abilities, developing them to the highest level. She actively opposes any evil, especially that caused by magical means. For traditional witches, a white witch is a renegade who has betrayed ancient traditions. White witches are valued and respected, and people turn to them for help. They live ordinary lives, create families, raise children, and enjoy feminine happiness, which is rarely found among traditional witches. White witches have the ability to heal illnesses, especially those caused by black magic. They remove curses, the evil eye, love spells, discord, and other negative influences, particularly if they were cast by traditional witches. White witches have a strong sense of the hidden power of stones, amulets, and talismans, and with appropriate training, they can use them successfully. A black or dark witch is one who masters forbidden types of witchcraft and uses black magic for their own purposes. She seeks power and is willing to manipulate people for her own benefit. Her witchcraft is aimed at subjugating others to her will. The black witch takes pleasure in casting curses and hexes, and her victim can be an innocent person. It is not easy to recognize a black witch, as she hides her craft and acts in secrecy. However, being near her, you may feel an atmosphere of fear and anxiety. Her words trap you in a cage. A black witch may emit a specific scent and possesses a heavy, penetrating cold gaze. She feeds on the energy of others like a vampire. Plants wither around her, and animals may become ill or die. According to European mythology, the Sabbath is a solemn gathering of witches that takes place at night, where various rituals are performed, accompanied by revelry. Most often, the Sabbaths were held on hills or mountains. Sometimes the events took place in a large clearing in the forest or in a cave. The most important thing is that the place is secluded yet has a lot of space. Finding a secret meeting place was not easy. Therefore, all the initiates made arrangements in advance. However, it also happened that an entirely random person could stumble upon the Sabbath, finding themselves nearby at an inopportune moment. The meeting place of Slavic witches was traditionally considered to be Lisa Ora near Kiev. The event began at night and ended at dawn. Sabbaths took place several times a year on Christmas, Easter, Trinity, or on the night of Ivan Kupala, and during the Annunciation. In Europe and America, All Saints' Day was also included. In 1446, the first mention of the Sabbath appears, right during the period of the Inquisition or witch hunts. At that time, the first trials against witches began. Horrifying rumors started to spread in society about the existence of large groups of witches who flew away deep into the night to meet with the devil. December 5th, 1484, Pope Innocent VII issued the bull, "With all the strength of the soul." This became the starting point for the witch hunts in Europe. After the publication of the treatise on demonology Malleus Maleficarum in 1487, the persecutions became widespread. The book becomes a true criminal code that all judges of that time relied upon. What was so special about it? The authors worked hard to make their case. By quoting priests and theologians, they argued that witches and witchcraft truly exist. The recommended methods for solving the problem included torture and burning at the stake. The peak of the witch hunts occurred in the 16th and 17th centuries. In Europe, endless wars were waged, one political era replaced another, and the church was on the brink of decline. And in all of this, they saw only one reason: the devil, who swiftly invaded people's lives and began to impose his order. The most persecutions occurred in France, Switzerland, and Germany during the Reformation and the division of society into Catholics and Protestants, when, under the pretext, they captured anyone who was deemed undesirable and attributed to them a connection with the devil. In Catholic Spain, the Inquisition raged like never before. However, there were noticeably fewer trials against witches. The witch hunt turned out to be a very convenient opportunity to settle scores with those who stood in your way, including on the political arena. Russia and Scandinavia were largely untouched by witchcraft hysteria, although similar trials did occur there at times. This may have been related to a different understanding of the essence of a witch. According to the most minimal estimates, the number of victims of the Inquisition reached a huge number, counted in the tens of thousands. Who among them was truly connected to the devil, and who simply found themselves caught in this meat grinder? Now we will never know. Speaking of witches, one cannot help but mention this dreadful process. In 1629, English Puritan colonists founded a small town called Salem in the state of Massachusetts. Puritans were very devout people, and any disasters, whether crop failures, widespread diseases, or attacks by Native Americans, were considered manifestations of the devil. It was so serious that in 1641, the death penalty was legalized, including for connections with dark forces. It all started when several girls fell ill with an unknown disease. Neither doctors nor prayers could cure it. And then a doctor named William Griggs announced that there was exactly the same case in Boston. And, as it turned out, the cause of the unknown illness was nothing other than witchcraft. The statement was made on February 8, 1692. The pious residents of Salem immediately set out to find the one who had cursed the girls and found a black slave named Tituba, who had been brought to America from Barbados. The girl said that they had heard from the slave about witchcraft more than once, and Tituba's fate was predetermined. By autumn, 11 people were executed in Salem on charges of being in league with the devil. On September 22, 1692, the last court session took place, after which, in total, 8 witches were hanged. They were indeed the last. In May 1693, the governor of Massachusetts pardoned those who had also been accused of witchcraft. And 4 years later, in 1697, the court proceedings were declared illegal, and apologies were made to the victims, which continue to this day. As for when the witch hunts ended, this happened in the 18th century, with the beginning of the Enlightenment. Today, many people are asking the question, do witches exist in our time? Gradually, a new image of a witch is forming in people's consciousness. She is no longer an evil old woman with a hooked nose, nor a villainess who is willing to send anyone to the other world for money. The modern image of a witch is based on ancient representations of her as a woman who possesses special abilities and knowledge. Witches of the past could predict the future, heal illnesses, and communicate with spirits. They were connected to nature and used its powers for their purposes. Witches in the modern world represent a new embodiment of ancient traditions. They continue to use the knowledge and abilities passed down from their predecessors, while also adapting them to modern conditions. Most modern witches are representatives of Wiccan and pagan movements in the USA and the United Kingdom. Centuries in paganism are practices based on the worship of nature and the belief in the equality of male and female forces in the universe. The divine principle is present everywhere in these teachings. Some witches believe in reincarnation, the afterlife, and karma, but do not recognize the concepts of sin, heaven, and hell. Some honor Athena or Isis, while others worship specific figures. An important part of the lives of modern witches is the Wheel of the Year, an annual cycle of 8 seasonal festivals known as Sabbats. The Sabbats occur during important astrological events, such as the solstice and equinox. Modern witches use their knowledge and abilities to help people, not to harm them. They strive for harmony with nature and the surrounding world, as well as for the development of their inner energy. Believing in whether witches existed in the past and whether they exist now is a personal matter for each individual. I can only confidently say that there is much in the world that is beyond our understanding. Perhaps, witches came into our world to become our guides to the unknown. Friends, I also have an interesting proposal for you. You have a unique opportunity to become part of our team. If you have video editing skills, can voice videos in Russian, English, and other languages, or write interesting scripts, we would be happy to work with you. Write to our Telegram bot. The link is in the description. That's all for today. Good luck!